The following is a production of the Dallas Genealogical Society. For more information, please visit our website at dallasgenealogy.org.
And so today we have Richard Gruetzner talking about the German Free School and the German-Texan Heritage Society. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to him.
Okay. By way of introduction, I'm Richard Gruetzner. I'm the current Vice President of the German-Texan Heritage Society and one of our two IGGP partner representatives. I'm also the President of the Texas Windish Heritage Society and a member of the Board of Directors of the Austin Genealogical Society. I'm also a member of a number of other genealogy societies, including a couple of chapters in the Palatines of America group. But today we're going to be speaking about the German Free School and the GTHS. So let me go ahead and start sharing. Okay. Today we're going to talk about the origins and the history of the German Free School, as well as the founding of the German-Texan Heritage Society, and how they come together to form the organization of today.
I don't see your slides.
I'm sorry, is it not sharing?
I don't think so.
Well, we told it to. Let's try it again. Oh, okay. I know what I did.
It's coming up. It's not quite up yet. There you go. And now you can go into presentation mode. Yeah, there you are. There we go.
Okay. Let's see. Is the photos all lining up over there on the right-hand side, or are they gone now?
We're good.
Okay. Okay, the German Free School that we're talking about was both an organization and a building. The land and the funds for the construction of the building was donated in 1857 by Carl Wilhelm von Rosenberg, who worked at the General Land Office. It was on East Mulberry Street, which is now East 10th Street in Austin. Our mailing address there is at 507 East 10th, but we actually have two lots. The German Free School itself opened in 1858, and the building is the third oldest existing building in the city of Austin. Here's a map of a bird's eye view of Austin from 1873. And as you see the arrow pointing to the building on the map, and then there is a sketch of the building that as it would have looked in 1873 on site. Up in the far upper left-hand corner of the map, you can see where the Capitol building is in relation to the Free School. So in 1858, the German Free School Association became the first school chartered in the city of Austin. It was chartered under the first attempts by the legislature in 1854 and 1856 to subsidize public schools, or I should say private schools. Augusta Weilbacher and Julius Schutze were the first teachers. Schutze was the main teacher between 1859 and 1864. In 1864, he had to flee to Bastrop County due to his being persecuted for his unionist sympathies. The state funding ended in 1862 because of the war, but the German Free School continued to operate via tuition. but they also offered free schooling to those who they considered to be needy, such as orphans of Confederate veterans, etc. In 1871, the Reconstruction government passed the first public school law, but by late 1872, this attempt had failed. One of the reasons that it failed was because the state was failing to pay the rents, and the teachers were paid late or with devalued warrants. So the school association went back to private tuition basis. Now, I should mention the reason that it was called the free school is because the school was open to anybody and everybody who wanted to pay the tuition to get in. It was not affiliated with a specific church denomination, nor was it a military academy as many private schools were at the time. So anybody could attend the school. It didn't matter if you were Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, atheist, or what have you. 1872, Professor Bickler, one of the teachers at the time, gave a loan to the association to add a 30-foot extension. The original building that you see in photos is only that portion that's got a blank white stucco-looking wall. It was constructed out of rammed earth, and then the 30-foot extension that was added was in limestone blocks. So there's an obvious recognition of what was the added portion. In 1873, also marked the first Texas teaching job for 23-year-old Jacob Bickler, who took an assistant teacher's job for his uncle Philip at the German Free School. Jacob left the school when Philip left in 1875, but returned as the principal in 76. He later, in 1877, went on to start his own school, the German and English Academy for Boys and Young Men. And after 16 years, Julius Schutze returned to the school as a teacher after having served as a judge, a legislator representing Bastrop County, and a beginning publisher of German language newspapers. He moved into the school with his wife, 6 children, and a boarder into the apartment area of the school that was contained in the addition that was added in the 1870s. In 1881, Austin established a true public school system, and the original charter of the free school expired in 83. The association did renew the charter for another 25 years, but the school never reopened as a school. And since Schutze was living there, he began editing and publishing the Texas Vorwärts newspaper with his nephews from that location. But eventually the office was moved elsewhere, but he and his family continued to live in the building. There were some issues with the association trying to kick him out, but they were not successful in doing so. But in 1884, the building was bought by the Germania Verein, who were actually the ones that tried to evict him. But by whatever court battles took place, he gained actual title to the building in 1891. He lived there with his family until 1904 when he died, but the family continued on in the building. Here's images of 2 of the front pages of both the Texas Vorwärts and the Austin Wochenblatt, which were both the newspapers published in the German language by Schutze and his nephews. They were fairly well accepted by the community and lasted for a good number of years from both the 1870s and into the late 1880s. Now, having died in 1904 and his wife continued on in the building, she decided in 1910 to sell the building to a D.A. Porter. There was a fire inside the building in 1919 that caused some extensive damage in the original portion of the building, but fortunately not in the portion that was occupied as a single-family residence. So they, and I'm not sure if Porter was actually living there at the time or not. However, he retained title to the building until 1948, when Dr. Kelly Stevens purchased the building. He was a noted deaf artist and art teacher. He was aware of the building's historical significance, and he undertook renovations and also added an upstairs landing to the building with colonnades. He rented space to students from the University of Texas and from the Texas School for the Deaf located in Austin. Now, he used the building as his studio. He taught classes at the deaf school for up-and-coming artists. He served as a trustee and actually the director of the Texas School for the Deaf in Austin for several years. In 1991, he passed away, and in his will, he gave the building to the German-Texan Heritage Society. Now, at the time, the society had been in existence for a number of years and had a listing in the phone book, fortunately, because they moved their official offices around from time to time, depending upon where the president lived and where they wanted to hold their meetings, sometimes in San Antonio, sometimes in Austin, in various places. But when he looked in the phone book, he saw the German-Texan Heritage Society listed there, called him up. Fortunately, somebody was there to answer the phone, and he asked if they would like to have the German Free School when he passed away. Of course, they said yes, and that's how we came to have the building that was the original German Free School in Austin. Here's a portrait of Julius Schutze on your screen on the left. A listing in the Handbook of Texas. It says he was born in Dessau in Anhalt, Germany, and came to Texas in 1852. His father, Heinrich, was a silk grower and actually published a German manual for silk growing. As I mentioned, Julius became the editor of the Austin Wochenblatt and the Texas Vorwärts. He also began raising silkworms in Austin on a smaller scale, actually taking a prize at the State Fair of Texas, and published an article about silk growing in Texas titled Schutze's Jahrbuch für Texas, 1884. On the lower right, you see a photograph of Dr. Kelly Stevens with his dachshunds. He was noted for owning a herd of dachshunds. At one time, I think he had a total of 27 of them living in the house with him. Quite a number of them are actually buried on the property, the ones that passed while he was still living there. And he did stipulate in his will that when he passed, somebody from the GTHS would take custody and continue to care for the dogs that remained until they had passed away. Here is a drawing of the free school that Kelly Stevens did. It's in chalk pastels, I believe, and he's showing it as a representation of the building as he believed it looked in 1872. And you can see the address of the street, East Mulberry Street, then called East 10th Street, down in the lower right-hand corner. There are still some of his original paintings displayed at the Free School in Austin, the headquarters of the GTHS, and we are in collaboration with the Stevens family, who recently held a gathering and a symposium about him inside the school building at our headquarters. So now we can talk about the GTHS. Briefly, it was founded in 1978, dedicated to the preservation of German culture and heritage in Texas. They published a journal, and as I mentioned, they were officed at various locations until they received the Free School in 1991. They've always been involved in holding festival, language classes, genealogy. We also now have the German International School and have occasionally been involved in publishing. Now, the photograph that you see is of the Free School as our headquarters as it stood, let's say, 2 years ago. We have recently added a staircase running from the ground up to that balcony level, the second story, which was added at some point before Kelly Stevens took the building over, which allows better access between the two halves of the building, because there was a break in the porch at the living quarters area and the original portion of the building, but that had been removed when the old staircase had been taken down. So it has since been re-added and the new staircase put in place and is currently in use today. So we have a lot better access to the building. So why was the GTHS formed? A number of teachers of German had expressed concern about the loss of German culture in Texas. As you're probably aware, the German culture was repressed due to events in World War I and World War II. And a lot of teachers of German were worried that the German culture was going to be completely forgotten. They had been talking for some time about how to change this and how to resurrect German culture, but for a number of years it was just talk. The first Southwest Texas State University Symposium on Texas Germans were held. That stimulated interest and the talks became more active. The Texan Institute of Texas Culture's German Christmas party in 1977 showed that there was a lot of interest in German culture still present, because it was attended by nearly 5,000 people. So this caused them to spring into action. And in the summer of 1978, Donna Reeves, Patrick McGuire, Anna Thompson, Mariah Watson, and Susan Clayton met in the home in San Antonio of Mary Elberry, and they formed the German-Texan Heritage Society. You'll notice I said Mariah Watson as opposed to Maria Watson. Her married name now is Pfeiffer, and she was actually a speaker at our last annual conference and made a point of letting me know that her first name is pronounced Mariah. So I'm honoring her by pronouncing it that way. In January of 1979, they published the first society newsletter, which today is our publication called the Journal. The GTHS grew fairly rapidly. In the first newsletter edition, they listed who the editors and the contributors were to the newsletter, and they included university professors, authors, researchers, people of German, Russian, and German Windish ancestry, as well as native-born Germans and other folks just interested in genealogy and other cultural issues. The newsletter contained information on genealogy research. They not only provided information about family trees that were sent to the society, but also what resources were available, how to go about doing your research, etc. So genealogy was a large portion of the society as it was getting started. There were also requests in the journal or in the newsletter at that time, requesting heritage artifacts and other family histories, articles on German culture, both in English and in German, and requests for assistance with research that were submitted by society members so that other members could assist them. So as I mentioned, genealogy was a big part of the early GTHS. But as you know, genealogy is more than just names, dates, and places, etc. GTHS has a library that is filled with family history books, providing family stories, historical connections, genealogy, family trees, all of which had been donated by society members. We also maintain records, those that are available, with some genealogical information on the former trustees, teachers, and several of the big classes of students that were part of the German Free School when it was in operation. So there's a lot of information there about those historical students, teachers, and trustees. We also have contact with the Trinkman family, who were involved in saving the records and newspapers of the Trinkman newspaper, the Wochenblatt, which started out down in Austin County and then was published in Austin in the later years when he moved his family to Austin. These are a couple of screenshots of some of the families whose information is held in our library. Obviously, this isn't real legible in this presentation, but if you go to our website, you can pull up these lists of names and then check and see if you have somebody listed there that we might have some information on that you're looking for. And our office staff will take requests that are sent in to do some copying of information if you can give specific requests. But you have to work that out with them as to how you want it sent to you, etc. Our GTHS journals are published quarterly. As a member, you can view all of the journals into the current issues online. You can receive a printed copy or you can receive a digital copy only. We do have a lot of our early journals. I know they go up into about 2009 that are available free for non-member access at our website. There are a number of libraries in Texas that have copies of the journals. I believe the UNT Portal to Texas History has those same years online available. Hard copies are available, I know, in the Round Rock Library. So they're out there. And there's a lot of old information in there that is of very much interest. We have published a number of books. One of the first that we put out was German Immigrant Ancestors, which was basically a compilation of members' submitted family trees. I use this as an example for the presentation because this specific book led to a breakthrough in my own genealogy when I found one of my early ancestors listed in there that gave his parents and where they came from in Germany, which I was never able to find out from talking to any of my family or doing any local research, even in church records. So this particular book was very influential to me, even though there were a few minor issues with some of the information that was provided, which you have to understand that was collected by hard paper research done by distant family relatives at the time. We've also published a number of books about various cultural issues for Texas, reprints of old books that had gone out of print by the regular publishers initially, and assisted in the publication or coordinated with the publications of books that have been written and or edited or compiled translations of German books by members of our society who were on our boards at the time. Now, as an example of what was contained in this German immigrant books, I'm showing you two of the listings in the book for the Gruetzner family of Charles August. Now, he was actually called Carl August in his birth records, but that was changed to Charles by the person writing up the entry for the book. And his wife, Johanna Winchie, he is my great-grandfather. But down below in the family group sheet, you'll see that it lists their parents, Johann August Gruetzner and Magdalena Proft. This is one of the errors that I was talking about. Johann Gruetzner did not have a middle name. There were family members that used the name of August, but my great-great-grandfather, who was the original immigrant into what today is Lee County, did not have August as his middle name. He was just Johann Gruetzner. This entry at the top gives Löbau in Germany, which is in Saxony, as the town that they came from. That's the major town. They were actually born in the village of Großdessa, which is a couple of kilometers outside of Löbau. But Löbau today, ironically, has assumed management of Großdessa. So it's actually a little more accurate today than it was at the time of this printing. Other resources that we have available, which y'all may already be aware of on our genealogy resources page, is the map that is put out by the IGGP and the Palatines of America, showing the genealogical organizations in Germany and a few outside of Germany. This image only shows 2 or 3 of the type of entities that are shown on the map. If you go in and look at it on our page, you will see that there are a lot more types of designations that you can find on there, including different types of archives, organizations, and repositories of informations, both church-related as well as civil-related. We do a lot of cooperation with other societies at the GTHS. Obviously, we do a lot of work between the Texas Windish Heritage Society, not just because I'm the president of the society, but we have had Winds and people that were interested in Windish heritage as part of the society since the beginning of it. So there's a good deal of cooperation between the two. We work well with the Austin Genealogical Society. As I mentioned, we're partners with the IGGP. We also trade journals with entities such as the Sacramento German Genealogy Society. I believe we also do the Germanic Genealogy Society up in Minnesota. We also, because of our Windish connections, are able to make connection with the Sorbian Institute and the Domovina back in Saxony in Germany. So now let's talk about what type of programs and events that the GTHS has available to the public. We have the children's programs, which consist of the Sonntagsschule, children's classes to learn German, and we hold German language summer camps on site. We are partners with the Goethe Institute. All of our language classes are geared towards the requirements of the Goethe Institute, and we are an official Goethe Institute examination center for Texas. At least twice a year, I believe, we hold examinations on site so that people can get their language certification certificates that are valid for German immigration and occupational requirements. Several years ago, we created the German International School of Texas. We currently have classes from pre-K through the second grade and hope to start probably in the fall of this year, a third grade level class as well. The school is German immersion. It's kin to the schooling techniques of the Montessori school system. It's taught by native Germans and is currently housed in the old school facilities at St. Paul Lutheran Church here in Austin, which is close to downtown. The school started out just as pre-K with both before school and after school daycare for the young kids. But it has steadily grown every year. And as one reaches the end of the grades that are available, the parents start asking, are you going to do the next grade and the next grade? So we figure we're going to continue to grow. We're very proud of having formed that school. Of course, we have our annual conference every year, usually a day and a half of speakers, sometimes on specific themed topics, sometimes not. They're held around the state. We have held them anywhere from Austin, San Antonio, Galveston, Comfort, Texas, Bernie, Temple, Texas. We tend to move around every year so that people around the state have an opportunity to attend in person. We have occasionally done hybrid events, but that sometimes isn't available due to the internet capabilities on site and the difficulties of setting up the conferences. But the conferences are usually very well attended. We also have what we call our speaker series. I believe they are all virtual. Currently, they were in person, but of course, all of that changed during the pandemic, and they actually lapsed for about 2 years, but they are now back in session. They're advertised on our website, so you can go there and see what is available and what's upcoming. We also have cooking classes for both kids and adults. Learn authentic German cuisine cooking. It's taught by Germans that are members of our society, so you're getting authentic classes on that. We have weekly Stammtisch on Zoom. Again, they used to be in person, but the pandemic moved everything into Zoom, so they're now conducted on Zoom, which curiously enough has not only expanded the ability for people to attend, but we have started getting a good deal of interest and attendance by native Germans in Germany actually signing on to the Stammtisch to talk with the local people here in Texas that have German backgrounds. We also hold a business Stammtisch in the evenings every month. This is to gather business people in town that are either affiliated with German business operations in Texas or people who work with or have corporate affiliation or provide services to German companies and want to learn more about how to cooperate with German companies. These have been real popular and have expanded our outreach and the knowledge of our organization. The sites move around to different breweries in the Austin area, so it's not always at the same place. Something that we've recently started is the German Auto Show. We're partnered currently directly with Porsche of Austin. We've also got connections with Volkswagen, BMW, and some other German companies in the area. And they put on a auto show. This year, we'll be having one, I believe, on April the 5th. And the Germans companies bring in their latest and greatest and newest and fanciest automobiles. We've had some of the Volkswagen auto driving or automatic driving type vehicles on display. Of course, we've got the beer garden and food available and live music for these events. Of course, we have our Oktoberfest every October. We like to think we've got the most authentic Oktoberfest of all of the different regional organizations. There's a ton of Oktoberfests by different groups, not just in the area, but in Austin itself. But we have consistently been told that ours is the more authentic, and they are very well attended. We have our Weihnachtsmarkt. This festival and Christmas market is a huge event for us. We have on occasions had over 4,000 people at one time attending on a Saturday. We now break the market up into 2 days for members only, and then 1 day on a Saturday open to the public, where we sell Christmas items that are imported directly from Germany. For many, many years, we've tried to only sell things that were actually manufactured in Germany. But unfortunately, we're starting to see that these same German companies are now sending us things that, although they're sold in Germany, they may actually be manufactured in Ukraine and in some cases in People's Republic of China. But they're still coming from the same German vendors that we have always used. Something else that we've recently started is the St. Martin's Umzug, held in November. This was a new event for us, although Many of the Germans in the area knew all about this and used to participate in it at home. And they were very surprised that we actually presented one to the local population this year. So it was well attended for a first event, and will continue from now on. In our community outreach portion, we have become a very well-known and very popular site for visiting Germans. Our biggest coup, if you will, was a visit by the Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs, Annalena Baerbock, in September of 2023. She and her entourage landed at the airport in Austin, traveled to the GTHS directly in some of those automated driverless Volkswagen cars, came to the GTHS and visited with us for about an hour, and then went to go visit Governor Abbott at the state capitol. We have for many years had very good working relations with the German consulate down in Houston. And in fact, we are an occasional temporary adjunct consulate where forget her actual title, but a temporary consul, I guess you'd say, can come to the headquarters at the free school and assist people with passport questions and issues and things like that. So we become a temporary consulate several times during the year. Now, Baerbock was not the only person to come visit us. The Federal Minister of Labor, Herr Heil, came in July of 2024. The German ambassador to the United States, Andreas Michaelis, also visited us in September of 2023. Consul General Kai Hennig comes to almost all of our festivals, as well as when other entities are visiting us. Every year, the Bundeswehr has a number of students, 30 to 40, say, that attend the University of Texas at Austin, taking classes. And every year we sponsor a social gathering on site for these students that are all either junior officers or officer candidates. And we hold a party for them there on site. We've had numerous visits from different German state political party foundations. So they're the supporting foundations for the parties, not the actual official parties. The Christian Democrat unions and the Socialist Party of Germany are two of the ones that have come. Various corporation officials from Condor Airlines, from Porsche, Volkswagen, people like that have come and used our facilities for meetings. These corporations around town that are affiliated with German companies, etc. We've had Mario Brandenburg, a German parliament member, visit us. We had the economic minister of Baden-Württemberg, Dr. Hofmeister Kraut. We've had the VFB from Stuttgart hold a party at our facility when they were playing over here. The Volkswagen Commercial Vehicle Division has come and held meetings at our facility. And one that you wouldn't normally expect to mention, we had the Minister of Economy from Quebec, Christopher Skeet, actually visit us and want to talk with us, and many, many more. It's amazing how many people have now come to recognize us as a place where they can come, uh, hold events, to make contact with German-Texan heritage-related people in the Texas area. We have thought about forming an actual side entity for economic development, sponsored by our organization. It's still in the talking stages, but we're looking to do more and more of this coordination between German entities in the homeland and their affiliates or their partners over here in Texas, so that they have a place to get together and to meet. So I appreciate you letting me present today, and I'm ready to take any questions that you might have or fill in any additional information. Should I stop the screen sharing or?
Whatever you feel comfortable with. Thank you so much. I don't see any questions in chat, but if anybody has a question, you're welcome to unmute your microphone and ask any questions. Do you have anybody? Yes, thank you. Out of chat.
Richard, this is Bernard. Can you explain a little about what the Stammtisches are?
The Stammtisch is basically a gathering where everybody gets together and talks German. Topics can range from anything anybody wants to bring up. It's literally just a way to gather, have a coffee, have a beer, use your German, try to make connections with other folks in the area that are German speakers, and enjoy a little fellowship.
Thank you. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Do they help with genealogy research at all? Sometimes in those sandwiches? Sorry.
Not so much in the Stammtisch. Oh, I should have mentioned, we haven't gotten away completely from genealogy. In our journals, we every month have answers to questions that have been submitted to us. Liz Hicks is our main point of contact for genealogy questions. She's a member of the Friends of the Clayton Library and lives down in Houston and has access to all of the Clayton Library resources down there. So she answers questions that are submitted. I also get questions sent to me occasionally by the office when either Liz hasn't been able to be contacted, or there's some issue involved that they think I would be better suited to answer. We've gotten all kinds of different questions from different folks over the years. All of those questions are answered in our journal, the ones that Liz Hicks does, because she writes those articles for the journal. My stuff is usually a direct contact with the people involved. So we do assist with that.
Okay, thank you. As somebody in the made a comment that she was going to ask a question, but she found the answer on your website. So basically, how to get copies of research and things like that. So it basically has Liz Hicks' email address as well that she put in the chat if anybody's interested.
She's also listed in the handout that I sent.
Okay, great. Okay. Now, I know the handout mentioned newspapers and and you mentioned newspapers in your presentation. Are those available just at your facility, or are they on the Texas portal, or do you remember?
Those are generally available at the portal to Texas History. We don't have the actual newspapers because they would be much too fragile. The Trinkman family has a bunch of them that I think they're trying to get digitized that might eventually wind up with us. But no, we don't have a lot of copies of the original newspapers at our facility.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I know that you mentioned those newspapers, and a lot of times if they're online, you can kind of search them, a little bit to see. But no, that's great. And I know that it sounds like you have a lot of information on people that pass through the facility, if you will, or is affiliated with the facility, and you have all that genealogy information in those initial books you mentioned as well. Um,
Right.
is that book available online or just at your facility? The one particular one was the first one where you found your information, the family histories and such.
Uh, you could probably get one. I don't know if they're directly listed for sale online, but you can contact the office. And if they've got copies of them, they can mail them to you. Uh, Now that's going to be, again, a compilation of family histories that were submitted. I mean, if somebody wants to know if their family's listed, they could email me and I can check my copy and see if it's in there so they don't buy a book that isn't going to be of any use to them, or anything like that. But
And so your research assistant could look, or you yourself could look at the book and maybe photo a page and send it to somebody or whatever,
sure, yeah, we'd
something like
be
that
happy
too.
to do that. The genealogies that we have in our library, again, are submitted by family members. So the type of research, the detail of the research and everything like that varies, depending upon what was sent. Some of them, I mean, we've got genealogy books on the von Rosenberg family because one of our board members is a descendant, and it's like 2 or 3 professionally bound volumes of family information, and others are just basically notebooks that have been put together by people. So it varies a great deal.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, we just posted the handout again in the chat if you didn't get a copy off the webpage. So, excuse me, I'll give people a minute to go to that if they're interested and hadn't gotten the handout yet. But really, it was very interesting to hear about your history and all the things that are accomplished and events you have and all those things.
We have grown. We're hoping to make or break the 1,000 member level of our society this year. We're already well over 900 members in the society. So all of these different programs and schools and things like that have really boosted our membership and done a lot for the organization.
Great. And of course, people who see this presentation as well will and that have Texas roots will probably contact you too. So, yeah.
That's what
Well,
we're here for.
does anybody else have any questions or anything? If not, we'll call the meeting to close here, and we greatly appreciate you coming and talking about your group.
Appreciate you
Thank
having
you.
me.
This has been a production of the Dallas Genealogical Society. If you're already a member, thank you. Your fees have been supporting these and other society activities. If you're not yet a member, please consider joining now. Go to dallasgenealogy.org and click on the membership tab.